Welcome back. I'm Chris with Sanderson Test Prep, and this is our last video in this video series of an introduction to Game Lab. So right now, our game, what we've done to date is we have our airplane, we have some obstacles, these bees that fly across the screen. We get 5 points if we successfully dodge the bee. As we can see, our score increase. We lose 5 points when we get hit by the bee. And this could seemingly go on forever. So the challenge I left you with last time was to see if you could keep track of a number of lives and post that in the bottom corner of the screen on the opposite side of the road as the score. And so that's what we're going to introduce now. So just like we did last time, with score, we had to introduce this text, and we could position the text where we wanted it. And our score looks like it's still a little bit big. I'm going to reduce this maybe to like 25 for the size so that it'll fit a little bit nicer in that screen. And we want to introduce text for keeping track of a number of lives. So just like with any new variable that we introduce, we have to initially create our variable and set an initial value. So for lives, we'll set lives at, let's do 5. So we get 5 lives in our game. And then down here with score, so when we successfully dodge the bee in line 26, right, if the bee makes it all the way across the screen, like we see in line 25, then that means that our score goes up by 5. And here, if the plane displaces the bee, meaning if they collide, then our score goes down by 5. So we don't need anything to happen to lives if we successfully dodge the obstacle here, but we do want to change the value of lives here if we collide with an obstacle. So if one of the bees hits the plane, then we want lives to give us our initial value of lives, but then minus 1. We want to lose 1 life anytime we hit an obstacle. And for our text, we're going to do something similar down here. So that's under drawing, and for our text, we're going to post our number of lives, and we want to do it maybe on the opposite side of the screen with the same y value so that it'll line up. And it should be lives, and then let's leave a little space after it, and then plus, and then we want to then call that variable lives to give us whatever the value is at that time. So now let's take a look at how this works. So we see our score of 0, our lives of 5. Our score is correctly adjusting as we successfully dodge our obstacles or get hit by them. We see our score go up and down. And then let's see what happens when lives. So we successfully dodge, lives stays at 2, and then when we hit an obstacle, it's down to 1, down to 0, down to -1, -2. Okay, so we have a little bit more work to do here because lives is just counting down forever, and we don't want it to count down forever. When we get down to 0 lives, we want our game to be over. So in order to do that, we want to create a new function that says it's going to be an if control, and we want to know what's going to happen when lives gets down to 0. So let's pull that over here, and let's set lives equal to 0 in here. So if lives equals 0, and I mentioned it previously, but we said we were going to introduce something called a destroy sprite, and that's something that we see under sprite destroy. So let's destroy our sprite. We're going to destroy our plane. We're going to destroy our bee. So let's see what that looks like if lives get down to 0. So let's try this. And here, it's starting with lives at 0. Why is that happening? Well, let's take a look with where our control is placed, because remember what we said last time, it's location, location, location. And we want to make sure that we are being careful about where we bring things into the code. Let's try it up here above draw sprites and see how that works. And so here, if we run that, we're still starting off lives at 0. So there's something happening here where we want to say if lives get to 0, but we want lives to start at its original value of 5 that we have it set to at the top up here. So let's see what's going on with that functionality, because we don't see the plane being destroyed, we don't see the B being destroyed, and it seems like this functionality isn't working properly the way that we want it to. Let's see if we put it under draw sprites, but then above the corresponding text. And so here we run it, no dice. So this is because when you set a variable equal to a certain value, so here when we say score equals score minus 5 or lives equals lives minus 1, one equal sign is appropriate. But if you look here, it's not about location for this, it's about the fact that this is a conditional, meaning it has an if in front of it. And when you have a conditional statement like this, it sounds kind of technical and picky, but we're going to use 2 equal signs rather than 1. So that's the correct operator inside of a conditional. And now let's see what this looks like. So now we have our lives counting down. So we have 4, we have 3, we have 2, we have 1, and then at 0, our plane leaves and our B is also destroyed. But maybe we also want to display some text, when that happens as well. So maybe we want to put in some new text and let the player know that the game is over. So we'll destroy the plane, we'll destroy the B, and then maybe we'll say game over. And let's put this somewhere close to the middle. Let's try 150 and 200. Actually, we can make it 150, 150 for that. And let's see what that looks like. So here, we're keeping track of our score. We're losing lives as we hit the obstacles. We're getting points as we dodge the obstacles. And then when we run out of lives, it says game over. It looks close to the middle. I'm going to slide it over a tiny bit. Maybe let's try 130 for that X value. And let's see what that looks like. And here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, game over looks like it's about in the middle. You can see your score at the bottom right. And maybe we want that game over to display a little bit larger. So let's try text size. That should be like a big, game over, kind of more drastic. So if we make that bigger, we're going to have to move our X value over a little bit more to account for that increase in font size. So let's see what that'll look like here. So, and I'm going to get a really bad score. I'm going to die as quick as I can. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, game over. Oh, that looks cool. I think we want to move that a little further to the left. So maybe instead of 80 for that X, let's try, I don't know, let's try 60. See how that looks. So one more try. I'll get a couple points. And then game over. That looks pretty centered. And that for game over is what displays on the screen. So we see our score listed, we see our lives, and this is sort of a full game start to finish. Obviously, you can change around a lot of these parameters. You could add in new sprites if you want to maybe, create a new sprite that you have to collect, like a coin or something like that. You could add in sprites that are just in the background that don't interact with the plane at all, but maybe a cloud that kind of floats by every now and again to make it a little bit more visually appealing. So there's endless opportunities, but hopefully in this series we have learned how to add a background, how to add a sprite, how to allow our sprite to navigate around the screen using the buttons on the keyboard, how to make our plane interact with those obstacles or make our sprite interact with other sprites, and how to display text and keep track of variables like score and lives. So that concludes our Intro to Game Lab video series. For more, please check out our other videos, and thanks so much for watching.